Hey everyone! So I know it's been a while since I have posted a video. I have been super busy with just life stuff. We're building a house, so I've decided to settle in Scotland now, and we're getting a house built here. So we've been living in Airbnbs and traveling around the country this year. So right now I'm in an Airbnb in Aberdeen, and hopefully my house should be ready from next month to move into. But I've also started a new job. So outside of teaching Zumba and yoga, I also am a digital marketing professional. So I've just started a new job, so that's the latest on my life. In terms of this video today and what I wanted to share with you, I've had some lovely conversations this year about my yoga teacher training, what I learned, my key takeaways, why I did it. And I thought I have been meaning to do this for a while, but I thought it would be good just to put together a video, because there will be people that are equally as curious as the people I've had conversations with. You know, these have been friends of mine, but there will be people that are potentially researching yoga teacher training courses, whether they're considering doing it at all or not, whether it's right for them, or just to learn from other people's experiences. So regardless of whatever the reason is, I hope that this is useful for you, but this should hopefully give you a bit of insight into my key takeaways from my experience, and there should be some tidbits of wisdom hopefully that you can take with you on your journey. So stick with me till the end. I'll try to keep it short. Once I start, I find it hard to stop. And I'm not very good with timekeeping. Yeah, just drop me a comment, drop me a message, like the video, just keep in touch with me and let me know where you're at in your own journey, and if you have any questions too. So I did my yoga teacher training last year in November 2020. It had been a long time coming. I'd actually signed up and paid for it in 2017 when I was working in London, and I unfortunately got injured in the second week of my training back then in 2018. And there were a few reasons. It wasn't just the yoga. I had some other issues that had been building up, and that was just the last straw that broke the camel's back. So I had to take some time out. I deferred, and then I moved to Scotland, and then there was this pressure to take the course. Basically, you know, they said you need to take it, and it's very expensive. I paid roughly 3.5 to 4 grand for this, so you know it's a lot of money, and I haven't been working this year, so I really didn't want to lose that investment, and I have really wanted to do this training for a long time. So I came down to London for a month and I completed the training, and I went into that training with two things that I want to share. So the first thing was my understanding of what yoga is was completely wrong. So I thought that yoga is stretching. I thought it was a stretch class, and it's so much more than that. This is so deep, it runs so deep over thousands of years. You know, the ancient yogis call, there's this expression, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which is yoga helps manage the fluctuations of the mind. It's a translation, something along the lines of that. So, you know, this is not a stretch class. This is so much more than that. This is about mental health, actually. It's about managing all those thoughts, all that chatter we have in our head, and really being able to sit out of that almost in a seat of awareness and just see them for what they are, and just see that there's this constant up and down, this fluctuation that's constantly happening in there, and you are not your thoughts, and they will constantly evolve, they will constantly change, and there's something within you that's always consistent, always stable. You know, this true self, capital S, that's part of the divine that we all have within us, this essence that's within all of us, and that really there is a lot of philosophy in this to really drive you to be a better person, to be a better human. And those are kind of my key takeaways, which I'll run into in a little bit more detail. But you know, I came into this just thinking I'm going to learn how to stretch better. You know, I've got tight back, I've got tight hips, and I want to be able to just know what stretches to do to be able to loosen all these muscles, because I was doing so much Zumba, so much higher impact exercise, plus sitting at a desk all day and wearing high heels all day in the office. So I went into this really not expecting to learn what I came out on the other side taking away with me. And you know, the other piece of this, to be honest with you, was I was feeling a bit of resentment almost, and a bit annoyed that I just wasn't able to just get a refund. I just wanted to get a refund, in all honesty, because I'd had that experience of getting injured back in 2018 after my second week, and I felt quite intimidated and nervous about going back and doing this and potentially injuring myself further. I was intimidated when I stepped into that training the first time. Everyone around me, from my own subjective perspective, was really, really advanced, either physically, you know, they were very flexible, they've been doing yoga for years, they could do all the advanced poses, or they were real yogis in the spiritual, philosophical sense. You know, they really understood kind of the Sanskrit and the deeper history behind it and some of those concepts. And, you know, I didn't feel like I fitted into either of those camps. So I just felt like, you know, maybe I've just really gone out of my depth here and this isn't really right for me. But in hindsight, again, I'm so glad they didn't give me that refund, that they said you need to take this course this year, because it also came at the perfect time for me. I was really having a sense of a loss of identity. I was having a bit of an identity crisis just before the course, and I was, you know, I hadn't worked for a year. Obviously COVID, lockdown, I was living somewhere completely brand new and isolated, you know, because of the world. Everyone was sort of isolated to an extent, but I just really didn't know who I was, what my value was, what my purpose was, because I hadn't realised that I had put so much of my self-worth and my identity into my job and my job title and the roles I played in my life. And having all of that stripped away left me in this very confused state. I then went into this course and came out of it realising that, yeah, we are so much more than that. We are not all those labels that get assigned to us in life. So I will just talk you through the key considerations in order. So when I came out of this on the other end, number one, I realised this is not a stretch class. This is really rich and deep and runs so deep in terms of the philosophy. And the ancient yogis would do this in preparation for meditation. So they would do yoga to mentally and physically prepare themselves to then meditate for hours. So that's really where yoga came from. It wasn't about, you know, stretching out your hamstrings or, you know, your hip flexors. So biggest takeaway for me was that, I'll be honest with you, that was a huge thing. The second thing for me was this identity, this tapping into who we really, really are at our root, at the kind of core of our beings. Who are we? And we are all the same. We are all connected. We are part of something that's greater, that's more divine. And, you know, having all these labels and roles assigned to us, it's really almost an illusion. It's almost a bit like the Matrix, you know, it's not real. And what yoga tries to help you do is differentiate between what is real and what isn't real, and be able to see things for what they really are. That's part of the philosophy that I loved, and one of the mantras as well, one of the famous mantras that they play at the end of one of the Matrix movies. Actually, it's one of the songs they play in the rolling credits, which I didn't realise. It's a yoga mantra. So yeah, I mean, that was a big thing for me, just really coming out of this, having a deeper sense of knowing who I am. And that ties into point 3, the third sort of key takeaway, which is how yoga really helps with personal development, self-development, self-discovery, self-transformation, all of that good stuff. You know, it really does help with self-esteem and confidence building, and understanding and growing your self-worth and your self-love, and not being driven or defined by your ego or status or these things in life that we place value on that really aren't real, and can also be taken away at any point as well. And when they are taken away, then who are you? What are you? So, you know, tapping into something that is true and unchanging is key. So again, for me, that was very powerful. And again, these are my personal takeaways. Someone else next to me may have taken away something completely different on their yoga journey. This is my experience, this is my sort of thinking process, what I've reflected on. And then the fourth thing was that yoga is for everyone. So, you know, I mentioned that I came into this feeling very intimidating, feeling like an outsider, feeling like, you know, I'm really out of my depth here, that I really shouldn't have signed up for this. It's not for people like me. But yoga is for everybody. And, you know, when you see all these dramatic, extreme poses that are very kind of just like almost as if they're from the circus, like they're in the circus, like, you know, those really kind of extreme poses that you see people posting on Instagram, even though it can be very inspiring too, that isn't true yoga. That isn't what yoga is. And you can make this practice work for you. So what I really learned was, what's the purpose of a pose? So say, for example, down dog, you know, we do it all the time. What are we trying to stretch? Which parts of our body are we trying to work here? How are we supposed to feel? How are we mentally supposed to feel as well? But if you understand that, then you can modify the pose and find a variation or a modification that works for you, or you can use bricks and straps to find ways to make these poses feel the way they're supposed to feel rather than look a certain way, because it's not about how it looks, it's about how it feels. And that was one of the key things I learned. So rather than looking around me, there was an expression one of the teachers said, which was, don't compare and despair. And that really did hit home. You know, that's something that you could take away in life too, but really realizing that this is a very personal, subjective experience, and this is about you tuning into your body, tuning into your mind and your spirit, and really just seeing, what does your body need right now? What does your mind, body and soul, what does it all need in this moment? How is it feeling? How is it responding? So really focusing on that and being able to share that with others. So when I came out of this and I realised this is accessible, this can be for everyone, my perception of it was wrong, and there's no need to feel intimidated by this. I have spent the past year, I ran a Yoga for Beginners course where it really was just teaching the absolute basics of what yoga really is, what the values are that it promotes, the philosophy, the poses, and showing variations, and almost starting from that baseline of beginner and then building up to advanced, rather than the opposite way around, or feeling like, you know, you're not doing the pose right because you're doing something else. So that's my biggest sort of mission now, really. That's what I try to achieve in all my classes, making sure that that it's inclusive, that people feel welcome, that they feel like it's accessible, like yoga is accessible. It's something they can do regardless of how fit they are, how flexible they are, what their background is. So yes, I will stop the video there, but that is really it. That's my those are my key sort of takeaways from the course. That's what I felt before and after, and I hope this has inspired you in some way, or yeah, has just made you maybe solidified or reconfirmed your thoughts on doing the course. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to help you. All right, thanks guys, bye.